Hello, this is going to be a brief recording to walk you through the midterm assignment for Art History 110. So this midterm is an essay about our unit on ancient Jewish art and early Christian art, and all of the prompts ask you to consider one work from each of those cultures and how they relate, how they're similar, how they're different. It is in essence the classic art historical assignment of compare and contrast. Comparing, this is what's similar; contrasting, this is what's different. And a good essay usually picks one or the other of those, but bears in mind that the other one is present too. So if you're going to have a comparison essay, it's usually good to bear in mind some contrasting elements. If you're going to have a contrasting essay, it's usually a good idea to bear in mind a little bit of comparison. And one other tip at the start: if you start with two works of art that seem very, very similar, and your essay's thesis is these two works are very, very similar, that's probably accurate, but it's probably not very exciting. And the same if you start off with two things that seem completely different and argue that they are completely different. A good essay comes with more nuance or maybe even some surprise. So taking two things that might seem on the surface similar, but in fact are quite different, or might seem on the surface incredibly different, but have very strong points of contact or similarity. So I just encourage you to think about those issues as you're thinking about this assignment. All right, to the assignment itself. Here it is on our course site. You see the due date there. And the directions are pretty straightforward. So about 3 pages, times 12-point font or equivalent, 1-inch margins, double space. Don't artificially stretch it, doesn't make any sense. And don't write a whole lot more because I have a ton of these to read. And the point of this assignment, at least in part, is concision. Can you make a discrete, clear point succinctly? That's part of your task here. And never waste space with the fluff of I chose this work because, or I really like this work because. Just get right to it. What are you going to argue? That's where you start. Go right for it. Before you start, read this whole assignment thoroughly. I'm walking you through some of its details, but read all the steps before you start. Watch the videos that are embedded in this presentation. They'll come by in a sec. And bear in mind that your essays will be graded holistically. On their content, first and foremost, yes, but also on style and grammar and proofreading. So edit your work carefully. And definitely don't plagiarize. It's a bad idea. It goes very badly, and you get reported to Student Judicial Affairs and all that, and I find it depressing. Just don't do it. Write a good, honest essay. Do a little research. That's a great plan. And then just cite that research, and you'll get credit for having done the research and cited it correctly, rather than flunking the course and being put on academic probation and all that terrible stuff. Don't do that. Do good, honest work, straightforward. Okay, and then you'll be turning it in through turnitin.com, and you can see the link is right here for doing that. If we go to the next slide, these are your actual assignments. So in all cases, you're asked to choose 2 examples, but to integrate them into a single cohesive essay rather than producing 2 micro essays. So 2 works, 1 thesis joining them. And a thesis is the thing you are trying to prove in your essay. Just about all academic writing should have a thesis, and then the rest of the essay should support that argument. What is the claim you're making, and why do you think it's the case? So examples must come from the early Jewish art and early Christian art unit, but they don't have to be ones that I talked about, that the Smart History site includes. They just have to be from those periods. So find something that your classmates won't all be writing about, but that is relevant and from those periods. If you're not sure, just email me and I'll let you know whether the works are a good choice or not for this assignment. You're not required to do outside research, but I strongly suggest you do a little. A little can go a long way in making the essay really richer. So these are your 3 questions. Question 1, power / patronage. So art can be used as an expression of power. Who owns these images? Or what spaces do they occupy? How are these images utilized to further legitimize political and religious systems of those people or spaces? Compare and contrast an ancient Jewish and early Christian work, assessing and analyzing the methods these images use to convey power narratives. Second choice that you have, syncretisms and communities. In this period, cultures and religions were changing in conversation and interaction with one another. Each influenced others and was in turn influenced by others. Compare or contrast ancient Jewish and early Christian work discussing who is borrowing what from where and how this influences the works of art produced. Third option, image/idol. The two cultures focused on in this unit both theoretically follow the 10 Commandments. And this means that the second commandment, the ban on the production of images, should be central to all the works that we see in this unit. How has this been interpreted? And what are the effects on works of art? Choose two comparative or contrasting examples, one Jewish and one Christian, and explore the ways in which the second commandment must have been interpreted in their production. So you pick one out of those three. The next few slides are my essay writing tips. Definitely watch that. And a few more essay writing tips, watch that. And this is how to make footnotes. Watch it, please. I give you some structure guidelines. I'm going to read that aloud to you, but I just want to hit one first and foremost again. Thesis, you must have one. It should be identifiable from your first paragraph. It should be original and supportable, and you should be able to connect every paragraph in your essay to this idea. Okay. Have evidence, make an argument, add a conclusion, and please do definitely proofread it. The formatting instructions are all on arthistoryrules.com, which is the site I made for my students for just this kind of purpose, but I walk you through some of those right there. The most important thing is how do you cite sources correctly in footnotes. It's all right there. And when you're done, then ask yourself these questions. Does the essay have a central idea that is carefully and clearly stated? Is it significant, interesting, and engaging? And so on. Are the interpretive points of the argument fully discussed and well supported? How well does the essay succeed in going beyond the surface of the object to bring out underlying issues? And is the essay carefully edited? These are all important things that you should do when you write your essay, then set it aside for a bit and then return to it to read it, edit it, and then proofread it. You'll be submitting it through turnitin.com. I won't take late papers unless you have a good reason for this, and preferably let me know in advance if it's something that you know is coming up that's going to interfere. But of course, if you have some true emergency, just let me know as soon as you can. And one note on sources for this. There's a ton of information out there on the web, but a lot of it is absolutely terrible. So you should first and foremost go to the library databases to find resources for this assignment. But there are lots of great websites out there, but be careful because you always want to know when you're using a web source, who wrote this and what was their intent. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has great information on its site. The British Library has great information. The Louvre in Paris has great information, and so on and so forth. But if you're just Googling for information, you may get that. You may also get, Bob's page of art I saw in France, and Bob may not know anything about the subject matter. So be careful with the web. Make sure you know who wrote it and why. If you can't figure that out, it's probably not a great idea to use that source. I did include a sample essay because students over the years have asked me to, and it's not a phenomenal essay I've included. It's a normal essay, a perfectly good essay that a student wrote that has some flaws and some strengths, and I explain those a bit on that document, just to give you an idea of one of the infinite number of ways that students have successfully answered this assignment in the past. Note, we have a writing center, information is on there, and definitely check out those cute little books on comma use and apostrophe use in there, the PDFs. They're quite amusing. That's it. Write the essay, do a great job. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay.